Hello, everyone. This is Ruby D, the Goddess Entrepreneur, and I am actually waiting for Miss Terra so I can send her an invite so that we can go ahead and start our discussion this evening for soul therapy. And the purpose of us doing this is to kind of give you a snippet or a little bit of a preview of what it is that soul therapy is and what me and Tara will be discussing on our internet radio show that will be launching next month. And if I accidentally sent you an invite, my bad. I was not trying to send you one. I was trying to send it to Tara. But I am waiting for her to come on. But while I'm waiting for her, hey, Aman, I am gonna give you just a little bit of a background about what soul therapy is. Soul therapy is an opportunity that I was presented with as far as doing an internet radio show, and I felt it was appropriate to invite Tara on this particular step in this journey or in this process with me, because the show is primarily going to focus on mental and emotional health and wellness as it affects us in a number of different aspects, personally, professionally, how it affects men, women, children, your relationships, your friendships, and everything. And right now I'm just waiting for Tara to come on, but the show will be launching next month. We will be releasing the date. We're not releasing it just yet, but with today being Father's Day, we felt it was a good time for us to just go ahead and finally do a live video together and just talk about our relationship, the relationship that we had with our fathers. And of course, if you all saw my post earlier today, you will know that my father, is not in my life, and he hasn't been in my life for a long time. And I just wanted to share my story with you all because, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, people like to think that simply because our fathers are not there or our fathers are not around, that causes us to have daddy issues. With us women, that causes us to have daddy issues, and that's not always the case. And I found that over the years, there she is. Let me send my boo boo the invite. Actually, I just sent the. Oh, here she come. It's coming,
Girl, I'm like, what
girl.
the hell? I didn't get no invite, nothing.
Girl,
I don't,
Facebook has made some improvement, but they still got some improvements they can make,
yeah, I don't know what is
especially
going
with
on.
that delayed
Yeah,
invite and
where's she
response.
at? Yeah, I still didn't get it. Something just said go click and try to find where she's at. I don't have anything. I just showed up on the scene like, hello. Anyhow,
Well, I'm glad you showed up.
yes, ma'am.
But now, since Tara is here, I'll give a little bit of introduction of who I am because I know I have a lot of new friend requests that I've accepted. But I am Ruby D, the Goddess Entrepreneur, an author, a speaker, a self-love advocate, an, a holistic healer, blogger, vlogger. I have a list of things that I do. And you know what? I'm just going to leave it there and let Tara go ahead and introduce herself for those of you who are not familiar with her or have never met her.
Hello, 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 Facebook. I'm trying to share this to my page so that everybody can see it. I am public speaker, public author, childhood advocate for those who have experienced trauma such as molestation, rape, incest. I am an addiction and recovery expert. I also do a little bit of personal development. My name just happens to be Tara Jackson. Thank y'all for joining us this evening. Let's sum it
Yes,
up, baby, because we can listen. We got a list of
exactly.
things we can.
So, as I was saying a little bit earlier while we were waiting for Tara, I wanted to take this time so you all can get to know us better, get to know us a little bit better, and also get a taste of what soul therapy will be like. once we actually go live next month. But with today's topic, of course, with today being Father's Day, um, I know I've never actually shared any information as far as the type of relationship that I had with my dad. And I don't think Tara has actually done it either.
Not a lot.
Even though we both have shared quite a bit of, information about our lives, I think that's one piece that we really haven't even touched on.
Right, 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 right.
So today we are going to get into that. Like I was just saying a little bit, as far as me personally, I basically had a very short-lived relationship with my father. Um, he was there, I say maybe the first, maybe 3, 4 years of my life, and then um, after that we moved up north to Michigan, and we were there, I'd say maybe until late 80s, early 90s, and then we moved back here. Well, back down to the south, down south being Mississippi and Alabama, that area. But once we got back here, I did see him a few times, but within those few times of seeing him, I realized that he was just a donor, pretty much. And I didn't feel bad about that. And the reason that I didn't feel bad is because even at that age, I realized that it was probably better for him just to, do his thing and then of course be with my mom. Um, and I was completely okay with that, you know. And I made a post earlier, and the last time that I saw my dad was 13. And even on that particular visit, I was just like, yeah, this is not gonna work out.
Mhm.
I've never had any ill feelings towards him for not being in my life or anything like that. He was true to who he was. So it wasn't like he was out here pretending to be a dad when he knew deep down that's not what he wanted to be or anything.
Right.
And for me, I was completely okay with that. So, that's a little bit of my story. I'm going to go ahead and let Tara talk about hers.
Well, happy Father's Day to all of the
Yeah, I'm
right.
sorry.
Uh,
Happy Father's Day, that part. Sorry.
um, I can remember for a long time I used to wish my mom a happy Father's Day, and then I began to understand that, um, she could only be my mom. My father died when I was 6 years old, and so I don't really have that story of abandonment. I don't really have that story of having daddy issues because he was in and out of my life or anything of that nature. But I do know what it feels like not to have a father. Again, he passed when I was 6. My father was my world, in my mind for a very long time until I was able to pretty much get honest about the fact that my father was the best father he could be, but he was a horrible mate. He was a horrible, horrible mate. He was very abusive to my mother. He was very abusive to the women in his life. He, crazy enough, became a pastor like 2 years before he died, but he was still practicing all of the hoish, pimpish behavior. He just kind of transferred it from the streets to the church. Um, I have very few memories of him because I was 6 when he passed away. I think I did have so-called daddy issues for like the better half of my teenage years. In my 20s, I dated men that were much older than me, looking for a certain level of security that I didn't have. But crazy enough, I was 6 when he died, so it's not like I really knew what I was even looking for. Where your father teaches you like how to go out on dates and all of that. I didn't have any sort of role model there. I had a grandfather who was a role model to me, but not necessarily a father figure. I think it took me about 21 years to really come to terms with all of that and find my truth in it. I don't know if I was looking for my dad more so than I was looking for security. Um,
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes we get that confused. I think that there is definitely a stereotype that women are looking for their father. And I don't think they're really looking for their father. They're looking for that representation of what it means to be protected and provided. by a father. But it's obviously a huge conversation. But my story in a nutshell is my dad died, and my
Mm-hmm.
mother didn't get into a healthy relationship with any man that could have been a role model thereafter. The men that she dated were just men that she dated. They didn't fill in a role for my father, for us as children at all. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
about it much, but because it's not something that plagued me, like you said, it's not something that just affected my life in a manner that I could just sit up here and boohoo and cry about it.
Right.
Um,
And oh, and sometimes I think that
yeah, she said that father
people,
nurturing, the nurturing aspect.
yeah, right. And I think sometimes, society can or tries to make us believe that simply because we were without one parent for whatever reason, that there's something wrong with us. And it's almost like,
Right, right,
well, because he wasn't there, forget why he's not there, but as a result there has to be something wrong with you.
right.
And it's like,
You had to
no, it doesn't.
something that you're lacking something because you didn't get that. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I think there are women like myself who didn't necessarily have that masculine energy in our life in a positive manner. So
Mm-hmm.
we only really got a feminine perspective on life. But then there's people that I know who had great grandparents, who had great grandfathers, who had great uncles, who had mentors in the community that they may have missed their father, but they got the masculine energy, protection, security, comfort, nurturing, all of that. So we can't just
Right.
say women who didn't have their father have daddy issues. That blanket statement is just far from true.
Exactly. And and sometimes if you push that button with us, it's like, no, something's wrong with you, and you clearly say, no, I'm fine. Well, no, something's wrong with you. No, I'm good. Like, for real, I'm good.
Right.
But no, your daddy wasn't there, and because it's this way, that means something has to be wrong with you. Okay, at that particular point, that's when you taking it too far, and really at this point, you want me to get an attitude. You want me to,
Well, you're
go there with you.
projecting. You're projecting whatever is inside of you. I don't know if you have daddy
Exactly.
or maybe you have mother issues, but you're projecting something that society has sold you, a stereotype, and you're assuming that every single woman that you meet has this set of issues. And even if a woman had issues being abandoned by her father, do we not get to heal? Do we not get to go
Right.
on in our life, or are we subject to have those issues forever?
Right. And is it your responsibility to fix it?
No.
No, it's
Know
not.
what though? Here's the flip though. I have met women, and I've been one of those women in my early 20s that were looking for men to fix things within me, to make me
Mm-hmm.
happy, to complete me too. So I can only imagine that those type of men have met women who require them to fix things that make
Right.
residue of their father being gone, or whatever was going on in their life. They're looking for men to fill in those gaps. So I'm sure he's been dealing with those type of women. But then the flip is, why do you attract those type of women?
That part.
Bruh.
Exactly. And then like it was a post that I made a few days ago, and actually somebody inboxed me, and she was just like, thank you for posting your point of view or your experience, because I know, of course, I'm not a mother, so of course I don't have a baby father, so I haven't dealt with that part of it.
Right.
But from what I gathered, or from what I'm willing to share from what she shared with me, basically, she had been struggling with herself whether or not to continue to, and I don't want to word it the wrong way as if she's trying to have a relationship with the father. What she was trying to do is figure out whether or not she wanted to put her daughter in a situation, because she knew that the father was toxic, and she didn't want to come off as being, the type of person where she was keeping her daughter from her father or anything like that. She didn't want to be the bad mother,
Right.
or the mother that was still trying to have a relationship. That's not what it was. But she was just like, she was worried that if for any reason, she didn't have that relationship with her father, she didn't want it, she didn't want her daughter to have daddy issues or something like that to happen. And she was just saying that because I've been following you for a while and you sharing that particular story, I understand that there is a place for little girls that don't have their father to turn out to be great women, to be phenomenal women, to be,
Right.
women that are inspiring to others. And that, it's not bad for the father not to be there, especially if they're
I
toxic.
was gonna say we have to be honest, and it's twofold.
Right.
Like I didn't know my mother's side of the family, and I met one of my uncles and aunts when I was 35, and that was the first time I understood that actually not having them, the God of my understanding was really protecting me by not having those people in my. I didn't miss anything, but we think we missed something for not
Mm-hmm.
recognize that we're truly being protected by not having those people in our lives. And with my 17-year-old, I pushed because I didn't want to be that bad mom. I pushed
Mm-hmm.
and I tried to force and I tried to finagle this person into being a father. And it did more damage to my child than it did good. And
Mm-hmm.
firsthand knowledge, I mean, you have to allow, you got to allow a person to be who they are. If he's not wanting to participate in that child's life, you can't force that person to do so, because in reality, you're forcing them to be something they don't want to be. And that
Right.
energy transfers over into your child. So, I mean, we're going to be deemed bad moms regardless. I think that even if we choose to do so and we don't choose to do so, it's going to be this thing where it's always the mom's fault. However the child turns out, it is always the mom. Um, but for me and my youngest son, my almost 2-year-old, I wasn't making that same decision. You don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
father, I release you in love. I won't allow you to transfer that toxic, dysfunctional energy into our lives, specifically his life. Does he have the ability to change? Yes, but at this current moment, your ass is toxic. You you have to be where you at. You have to be. Now, don't get me wrong. You do that particular viewer. If you're watching, at some point, sis, you'll have to cross that bridge to have that conversation with your daughter. But at this point in time, if she's young to have that conversation, then you just do what you need to do. But at some point, you have to be honest with her about who her father is. You can't lie. That's
Right.
you can't lie and you can't hide her from her dad, but don't force her on him.
Right. And I'm grateful for my mom, for being that way, because my mom was never the one to be like, oh, your daddy this, your daddy that, he ain't this and he ain't that. That was never her.
Right.
And, it's been times where, yeah, she actively took me over there. Do you want to go see him? No, not really, but yeah,
Right.
just to, see. And clearly, on this particular occasion, when we went to go see him, um, I asked him for some money. I think he gave me like $50, but he spent more time trying to, rap to my mama instead of, talking to me. And it's just like,
Right, right. Because those
no,
are the type of men who they're not interested in the child. And
no,
if the relationship is working with the mother, then they will kind of sort of play daddy. But if
exactly,
the relationship isn't working with the woman, then it's no go. And it's toxic. It's toxic.
exactly.
It's toxic.
And I remember, and um, I remember when we went to child support court. I don't remember what age I was, but I remember going. And of course, we were in the courtroom and there was a bunch of people in the courtroom. But with being in there, um, of course, the judge was talking to my mom and talking to him, and the judge was like, um, do you feel like the child isn't yours or it doesn't belong to you? And he was just like, no, that's not my child. And then, the judge kind of looked at me, looked at my mom, and then looked at him. And the judge was just like, that if you have to take this you know, if you take this DNA test and the child is yours, you have to pay for it. And he was like, yeah. And it was like the judge was implying that child clearly looks like you.
Right.
I ain't get this bottom lip from nobody else but you, daddy.
Right. Right.
And it's just like, even then I didn't feel some type of way because, I was so young, but it was just having those memories of like, this man not even trying to claim me. And by the time I came around or I'm at this age, you got like 8, 10 kids already. So I know clearly, yeah, you a rolling stone and you toxic. And, just in case, when I get to the point where I'm making my big money, I don't need you coming back for me
Right.
asking where your
That
cut.
you think based on the foundation that your mom gave you, to know your worth, to value your worth, value who you were able to make a decision early on that this, because I really don't know anyone in my life who at that
Mm-hmm.
age could clearly say my father is toxic and I just don't want. I mean, you're 13. I think about 13-year-old girls. I think about myself as a 13-year-old. I wanted my father in my life, and the majority
Mm-hmm.
of them wanted their fathers in their lives. It wasn't a clear distinction between a great father and a toxic father. It was just we did,
Right.
the community by that time, drugs had wiped out our communities, and so if you saw your daddy, and he had a bag of 25% potato chips and a juice, you was happy as hell to see him. You see what I'm saying? And you clearly like, nah, I'm good. I'm not gonna be able to do it.
You know, now that you asked that question, and I've even asked myself, like, how did I just, how was I able to decipher or discern that clearly he just was not really, somebody that needed to be around?
Right.
And, I actually can't answer it. I guess it was just, I think I've always been what, people would consider a bright child.
Right.
And I've always been observant and I've always thought for myself and I've always paid attention. And it's just like me paying attention and just using, putting whatever, together that I had to put together, whether it was just like, no, you already got a bunch of kids, you ain't even really stable yourself as an adult, and it's just like, I guess that's just where it just happened for me that way. And it was just like, it's
I was
best
gonna
that,
say, Golden
thank you, Golden
Jasmine said
Intuition.
intuition. Your intuition was strong back then,
Yes.
and you recognize it, and clearly you had the ability to trust it to some certain extent. At 13, like, my spirit
Yes.
said, no, we not doing it. No, 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 no.
Like, thank you for the $50. I'll buy me some school supplies and, get to the rest of my mom because she took it
Right,
because
of
I'm a
course she did.
13.
$13 back on the bill to pay all these damn bills. It needs something back in my pocket.
Here go you a double, I mean, a cheeseburger or something like that. And give me the rest of that because y'all don't want you losing
Right,
it.
right, right. So have you literally have had no contact with him from the age of 13 to 37? Do you know where he's at?
The last time I heard, and he was still in Pritchard, Alabama.
Back, oh, you know,
The
small
last time I heard.
towns, baby. I went to Mississippi last month and rode past this store, and they was like, that's your brother. Your daddy had. Girl, I'm like, no, no. But my daddy was a Rolling Stone too.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, I think because he died when we were young, that he was still clearly in all of the women's lives because we're all roughly around the same age. So we didn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily know that he wasn't in our life like he should have been because he just kind of bounced from house to house. But I was 6. My brother was 5. My sister was my stepmom was actually pregnant with my sister, and then I had an older sister in Mississippi. So if he had kids in between, we had no idea, none
Mm-hmm.
whatsoever. And now it's kind of like we laugh about it. Nobody is. We went to Mississippi, and everybody just kind of chuckled on. My father was my father. He's
Right.
doing what he do, and unfortunately, all of us didn't. We weren't raised up together like we probably should have because the women hated each other.
Mm-hmm.
mothers. They weren't tribe mothers, girl. They weren't with that polygamy, none of that. We not friends, none whatsoever. Like, I still like you 30 years later, that type of thing. So we didn't get to grow up together. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that we didn't hate each other. We just grew up in different homes, you know.
Right. And I think that's the thing. Sometimes it's just like society wants to make us feel like, like I said, something should be wrong with us, and then other people start thinking that something should be wrong with us. I've even had
Start
issues
thinking
where
something should be wrong with you because you hear this message that says something should be wrong with me because I didn't have, fill in the blank. But in this particular episode,
right. And then, it's been occasions where I've been in relationships and men would tell me, I need to do this for you because you got daddy issues. And I'm like, no, I don't. No, you do. You do. You do. It's okay. It's okay. Where your daddy? you know? And I'm just like, nah,
so you
I'm
know
cool
what?
for
So
real.
here's a question that popped in my mind. So what about
Hmm.
men who don't have fathers?
And that's what I be thinking. Everybody telling y'all got daddy issues.
Because
But
I
what society does say
I would absolutely.
is y'all need that guidance, and I understand y'all do, but it's just like there are other men in the family. Like, for instance, my uncle was there. And that's it. Him, he the reason why I ain't got no kids to this day.
Right.
It's just like he made sure, don't you get pregnant, don't you do this, don't you do that. You got to graduate high school, you got to graduate this, you got to do this, and you got to do that. And it was just like, even though my dad wasn't there, my uncle was there. Like, even now, my uncle doesn't have any kids because he had us.
Right.
And he was always right there. And he was always, trust me, if he gave us some whoopings, I'm not even
Oh,
going to lie.
really goes to show that it takes a community, it takes a tribe to raise your children.
Yes.
And that if you are a woman who doesn't have the father of your children in your life, if you got a solid support system, your baby's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be okay. Your baby,
Exactly.
your baby's gonna be good. If they get all of the love and affection and support and encouragement and empowerment that they need, if you teach them how to value themselves, you can say all day long that they're gonna have issues because they don't have their father, but I think that you project that onto them.
Yes.
You know,
And that's exactly what you're doing.
especially those of us who have tried to force our children on those men, got your baby sitting on that porch waiting for that man that you know not coming, and then you're steadily messing with the self-esteem and the confidence and the worth and the value that your child has, especially as a small child who doesn't
Mm-hmm.
understand why you keep telling them they daddy coming and they sitting on the porch at 3 o'clock and he was supposed to be there at 1 o'clock. And then now you have to, begin to counsel your child, and then you mad, you angry, so they don't tell them what you're saying to the baby. Oh, I think we
Right.
project more of these issues onto our children than necessary, or that have to be. Excuse me, have to be, not
Mm-hmm.
necessary.
Right. And, that's another reason why I'm so grateful for my mom, because she never, she never was the one to try and force him in my life. She would always ask me, but do you want to go see him? Do you want to call him? And if I didn't, she didn't make me.
Right.
And if I was just like, well, okay, if we in the area, then, let's stop by there or whatever. But I have seen, in some instances where it becomes almost like a struggle or a fight, and the child is sitting there looking at this, and it's just like they just see the mom and the dad going back and forth, and it's just like that's where the issue's coming in at.
I was gonna say,
It ain't because the father is not there. Well, I'm not saying that's for everybody, but it may not always be because the father is not there. It's because y'all got issues y'all need to work out, and like you said, that transfer of energy just going right there all into the child.
right. Well, that sister who, I don't know if you saw this video, excuse me, a couple of months ago, of the sister telling her daughter had to be like 2 or 3, probably
Mm-hmm.
3. She was talking, but she was barely talking. And I don't know if she had called the dad or went to take her to see the dad. And she was just telling the little girl her dad didn't love her. You see what I go through. She was telling her all her issues and what she felt about her father. And the baby was crying and the mama was crying. And I'm thinking to myself, this little girl only knows what you're telling her. She only knows what you're feeling. That energy is being transferred onto her. You're trying to force this man on her, and now you're forcing your feelings, your bitterness, your hurt onto her. Not to say that he's a great man, because he may be a horrible man, but how productive, progressive, and positive is that of you to be having this Ayanla conversation with your 2, 3-year-old? And then wondering why this baby, because you're going to continue to have that conversation. If you haven't it with
Yeah.
3, you're going to continue to have that conversation. And now you've instilled in her that she's not worthy, that she's not valuable, that she's not good enough to be in this man's life. And then you wonder why she don't feel like she's good enough to be in any man's life.
Exactly. That part right there.
Right.
Um, hey everybody, I just want to say thank you all for watching. Hey Kiara, hey Devron, and Kiara, yeah, with soul therapy, like I said at the beginning, this is just a little a sample of what the internet radio show will be like, us talking about topics and hopefully bringing up topics that we never really thought about or that we never really discuss or talk about, and bring them to the forefront, how it affects us mentally, how it affects us emotionally, and so in so many different aspects of our lives. So should she hide it, or how should she go about telling her that truth? Um, I didn't see the video personally. I know what video she's talking about, but with me, if y'all know how I, do Facebook, I scroll. If it's something that, and I feel like it's too much negative energy there, I'm just gonna scroll right past it. But I am aware of what video she's talking about. Um, it's not that she should hide it, but there is a certain time in a certain place in a certain way that you should have that particular conversation, especially with a 2 and 3-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, at that particular moment in their lives, um, they are like sponges. They absorb everything.
Yep.
And at that particular point, what you should be focusing on is positivity, love, affection, all of that type of energy into your child. Because like I said, they are sponges. They absorb that negativity, and then you wonder why they grow up and they looking at you upside the head, because that's all they know. That's all you've ever been. You've only been negative, and every time something comes up, hi mommy, sorry. Every time something comes up, then it's just like, why every time when it comes to my dad, she always hollering and yelling and making me cry.
Well, I think that's
The child
those
absorbs that.
those. I'm sorry, Ruth. Sometimes those particular type of sisters want their children to, because I know my mother did. My mother wanted me to feel the same way she felt about my father. She couldn't understand how I could still love him despite what she had been through with him, but she didn't understand. And this young lady doesn't understand. Your children have a different relationship and a different understanding, feeling, and thought about their other parent than you do. They don't have the same connection or disconnection, and you can't expect them to hate their father because you do, or to even feel the disappointment or rejection that you feel. And even if they feel disappointment, it's not going to be the same disappointment that you feel. They didn't exchange this energy with them. They weren't intimate with them. They didn't spend these years.
Right.
Him. So it's just an inappropriate conversation at 2 or 3 years old. Not inappropriate in general, but it definitely can be a better conversation than to just be emotionally vomiting all over your children.
Right. And like Tara said, definitely at that age, it was not a conversation to be had, because that baby don't know. All that baby know is negative energy, negative energy, negative energy. Yeah, when she gets older, you can have a conversation with that. I mean, a conversation with the child so she understands what's going on, but still not in a way where you have to emotionally vomit on your child. And it's just like, you can have this conversation and it be a sensible conversation. If for some reason you dislike her father or whatever the case may be, then I'm pretty sure she's gonna pick up on that energy. She's gonna understand that.
Right,
You ain't got
right,
to tell
right,
her that.
right. You just don't. And even, I mean, even when they are of age, you still want to share with them kind of in a neutral manner and allow them to make decisions for themselves. Because when you start, being biased about the conversation and start talking about what you feel, because their father may not, it's just a different relationship. It's such a different
Mm-hmm.
relationship, and you have to allow the child and that other party, that other parent, to formulate whatever relationship there is. And if he really ain't shit, those babies know he ain't shit. They know,
I knew
they know that. They
it.
know that. They know that. And you gotta really allow that to work itself out. If that person, um, if you feel like that person is I don't know how to say this without it sounding crazy. For me,
Just say it.
right, for me, the parent to my 18-month-old, is he's just unhealthy and he's toxic at this point in time. So I choose not to introduce that into my child's life. But at some point in time, we'll obviously cross that bridge and have that conversation. But in my opinion, it is a conversation that I will refer him to his father. You want to know why your father hasn't been there, you need to speak to your father. And
Right.
that responsibility be on him, not me. Because I can't tell
Right.
why he wasn't there, but he can tell you why he wasn't there.
Right. And I completely agree with that. It's just like, you don't want to get to a place where you're feeding your child this information and then they take that in, and then somewhere down the line they develop this relationship with their father, and then he tells his side of the story,
Exactly.
and then it's just like, well, wait a minute, mama told me this,
Right.
and now your child looking at you like,
And
mom, like,
on my experience with my 17-year-olds, no matter how much you think that they're going to feel a type of way about that parent because that parent wasn't there, they still love their daddies. They still want their daddies in their life to some certain extent. Ruby is the exception to the rule, y'all. um and you don't want to be the person that has given them all of this toxic and negative information, because then what happens when they do connect to that parent, then they're going to start blaming you. You're the reason why they didn't get to have that parent in their life. I don't care how good of a mama you was, they're going to look at you, and they're going to feel like you're the reason why they weren't allowed to have this relationship with the other parent. It's gonna backfire, sis. If you're out there, it's gonna backfire. It's gonna backfire. It's gonna backfire. Not gonna work out in your favor. Them babies gonna hate you in the long run if you keep doing what you're doing as far as it relates to their daddy.
don't do that, don't be that way. Look, we are just having this topic of conversation, so it'll provoke thought.
Right.
It'll provoke you to look at, what you doing and what you've been doing. We not out here to tell you you need to do this, dot, dot, and whatever. That's your life. You're gonna do what you want to do. You're gonna make your own decisions. But this is a conversation that needs to be had, because I don't need somebody telling me you got daddy issues because your daddy wasn't there. Hey man, he
Right.
wasn't there.
Or
I'm
wrong
cool.
for keeping your children away from mentally, physically abusive people. We do this thing to women where we make them feel like they're obligated to allow the other party into their child's life no matter what. And sometimes there is deal breakers. If this man is physically abusive and beating on you in front of them children, I'm gonna need you to stop playing. He don't need to be around them babies. And you don't need to let society or anybody, your mama, daddy, sister, cousin, make you feel bad for protecting you and your children. I think we make these very blanket statements and say, it's got to be this way or no way. You got to have daddy
Right.
issues. There's no gray area here. Two parts,
Mm-hmm.
two sides to every story. Experiencing that with my hubby's mom and dad. His dad is actually a great guy. Look,
Told you.
You know, and sometimes it's them secrets, y'all, because my granny, 97 years old, and them secrets been coming out in the last 6 months, baby. Them secrets been coming out. Like, oh,
For
okay,
real.
I know why this, that, and the other happened. But you know, things happen, and sometimes women lie. Sometimes we lie. We lie. You know, shit happened. We got pregnant. We ain't mean to. We ain't really know him. On our husband, you know, whatever the case may be, and it ends up being a crazy situation, and we trying to save face and ass at the same time, and we end up telling these stories that not true. Yeah, right.
Y'all, let me just say it. That's why I love Tara. You know, me, Tara, I mean, yeah, me, Tara, and Allison. I call it, we like hot wings. I'm the mild. Uh, I mean, Allison is like the hot, and Tara is like the spicy. You got all these different flavors, but you gonna get that.
You
You
gonna
gonna get it.
get it. But I think that we have to be honest, because like so many women get thrown under the bus, but then so many men get thrown under the bus. And we have these
Yeah.
other movements out there where the stories are being told so unfairly, and it's imbalanced, and it's, you know, it's either men's fault or it's women's fault, or women like
Right.
men don't, and vice versa. And the reality is we all done had a hand in this being messed up. Women
Exactly.
lied, men done lied, we all done cheated, you know, something along those lines. We just got to be honest about it so that we can stop this generational cycle of, you know,
Hmm.
continuing to birth children into these toxic environments. Because at the end of the day, that's who we hurt. We hurt these babies. We hurt.
Right. And you know, we and Allison, I mean, me and Tara can talk. Allison can talk too. But you know, I kind of want to wrap this up because we don't want to give y'all too
Right, right.
much, you know.
A snippet.
Now, but one last thing that I did want to bring up is I made a post today, and you know, one of my friends, she commented on it, and she was saying, you know, in Tara's case, her father, you know, passed away when she was younger, and she was just like, you know, why do we feel that we're, you know, that we're missing something? Is it that we're fantasizing about what we're missing? And I'm sorry, my apologies, I can't forget, you know, her full, I can't remember her full comment, but one point that I made to her was, yeah, of course, when we growing up and we watching TV, we see these full families with these fathers and stuff like that, and it makes us feel like we're missing something because the dads are not there. But then what we also have to realize is that even though they're showing this part of it, they don't show all of that other stuff. You know, that kind of stuff, when it happens in this house, it stays in this house.
Mm-hmm.
So just because the father is there doesn't mean that they're happy, you know,
Happy, healthy
happy go
home.
lucky.
Mm-hmm.
You're not seeing the abuse. You're not seeing the drinking. You're not seeing the beating. You're not
You
seeing
know
the
what?
verbal abuse.
It's so
You're
crazy.
not seeing all of that.
I took Malik to go play at the Playland today, and there was
Hmm.
a estranged couple. They were still married, separated. I don't either. He just got out of jail or he just got out of detox. One or the other. You know, we observing as hell. And they had their kids there, and I'm looking at them, and from the outside looking in, if you hadn't have been in this particular environment and saw this family, you would think, you know, mom, dad, you know, Escalade, nice outfit, big bling rock on her finger, kids dressed nice, and it's hell going on in that household. He's not in the household anymore. Something transpired. And so we keep looking at other people's lives and comparing them to our own. And we have no
What's
idea what's going on. Just because you see a two-parent household don't mean it's healthy.
Say that one more time. One more
But
again.
one more again, just because you see a two-parent household doesn't mean that it's healthy.
And on that note, we're gonna leave y'all right there. It's been a pleasure. You know, with this, we did not come on here to bash the fathers or anything like that. That's not what we do. We were sharing our stories and just sharing from our experiences. We understand that everybody, this does not apply to everybody's life. We understand that everybody has their experiences and everybody has their understandings, and that's completely fine. We have absolutely no problem with that. But we do enjoy being able to look at things from a different point of view and just kind of talking about it from a perspective that you may not have even thought about.
Right. Right.
Cause y'all better not tell me one more time I got daddy issues, cause I don't. But soul therapy. We will be launching next month. Internet radio. If you in any way have enjoyed our conversation and our talk and you like what we are doing, please make sure you like the business page. I will be sharing the business page with you all. Like the business page. We do accept donations because we understand that this is so needed. We understand that we have to have a platform like this to have these conversations. Um, when the opportunity was presented to me, of course, I thought about Allison and Terra, but I'm like, well, Allison in Texas, Terra, you right here. We just gonna have to do what we gotta do. So exactly. So I'm just gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna let Terra go ahead and put in her 2 cents about this platform and soul therapy and how she feels about this particular partnership.
Oh wow. I'm definitely looking forward. Obviously we've known each other online for quite some time. So being able to come offline and just hang out and the retreat and soul therapy and just
Yes.
really be able to connect with our mutual audiences in a manner that's going to be much more effective. We will expand our reach. So I'm super excited about being able to do that, being able to give other people in our communities who are advocates, entrepreneurs, to be able to share that platform with them as well, whether that's in person, locally, or the sponsor, the promotion. I'm super excited to have this shift in conversation because I know that you and I are able to see things outside of the box. So to bring light to conversations, to bring some gut level honesty to conversations and stop hiding behind these masks, these characters that we have created along the way. I'm excited for the platform. I'm excited to be able to get some information out to people that they may not be privy to. So thank you for sharing your platform. Like Ruby said, please go like the business page, share the business page. If you need promo, holler at us. Donations definitely accepted. Local Atlanta people, we definitely are looking for people to interview moving forward. So I'm just excited. July. I'm excited to get this kicked off and see where it goes.
Yes, ma'am. And that makes two of us, all of us. And I told Allison, girl, you need to come on. You better fly in a weekend and do something.
Right. Once every couple of months at least, come hang out
Exactly.
and do this.
But
So.
we like to thank you all for watching. Please share the video. We look. This is just a scrape off the top of
Yeah,
what we're gonna be talking about.
just a snippet.
This
Snippet. Thank you
yes.
for joining us this evening. Please continue to stay tuned. We will have an official launch date soon.
That's it. We will
Good
see
night.
y'all on the page. Check us out on the business page and on Instagram and YouTube and all that good stuff. So we'll see y'all next time. Bye bye.